All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something we all deal with every single day: how we actually process the endless tsunami of facts coming at us. Over the next few minutes, our goal is to build a wholesome understanding of what I like to call the cognitive ladder. That's the step-by-step journey from raw, unfiltered data all the way up to actionable, profound wisdom. Let's just dive right in.
So, I want you to think about your typical workday for a second. We are literally drowning in dashboards, spreadsheets, notifications, and endless metrics. We live in this world that kind of acts as if having more data is the exact same thing as having a stronger signal. But, well, here's the hard truth we really need to face. Quantity does not automatically become understanding. So, why is it that having way more facts still leaves us totally confused?
To answer that, let's picture a massive city skyline at night. From far away you see thousands upon thousands of lights. They're bright, they're everywhere. But think about it. Those lights alone, they don't actually tell you which buildings matter, how the streets connect, or where the real action is happening. Data is exactly like those city lights. It's useful, sure, but it's entirely incomplete until you figure out how to interpret the pattern. Okay, let's dive into this, because we really need to clear up a major misconception right off the bat. People constantly use the word information as if it means knowledge, and actually scratch that, it really doesn't. Imagine dumping a giant box of puzzle pieces right onto your table. By themselves, they're just, raw, separate pieces. That's your data. Just isolated facts and numbers. Now imagine you start sorting those pieces by color, maybe by edge or by shape. Suddenly, that random chaotic pile has some structure. You can actually start to see possible connections. That is information. It's the bridge that turns a pile of bricks into the actual foundation of a wall.
But, why did we sort those puzzle pieces in the first place? Well, because we had a goal. Information is essentially structured meaning, and it relies entirely on a specific purpose. Like, a fact alone can be 100% true, but absolutely useless. It only becomes information when it answers a purposeful question. What happened? How much? When? Where? Think about glancing at your watch. The numbers on that display are only useful because you're asking a specific question like, wait, am I going to be late for my meeting? Without that specific purpose, those numbers are literally just meaningless digits.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that one of the biggest myths we buy into is that good information should give you everything. But in reality, good information is valuable precisely because of what it leaves out. Take a map, for example. It doesn't show you every single tree or every crack in the sidewalk. If it did, it would be a nightmare to read. Good information intentionally strips away all that overwhelming detail, so the truly useful pattern actually stands out.
So if information is just organized data, what exactly is wisdom? Well, it's kind of the ultimate missing ingredient in our crazy data-obsessed modern world. It's the human mind stepping in to weigh cold facts against a very messy reality. There's this great definition. Wisdom is judgment under uncertainty. It's that rare ability to see what's relevant, what's risky, and what's actually worth doing when you, inevitably, don't have all the answers.
And this brings us to a really perfect contrast. Think about the difference between a map and a navigator. Information describes. It acts like the map, showing you the roads, the borders, the landmarks. It basically tells you exactly where you are. But wisdom? Wisdom evaluates. Wisdom is the navigator sitting right there in the passenger seat who decides which route to take based on, the incoming weather, how much fuel is left in the tank, and how urgently you actually need to get there. The map is incredibly useful, sure, but the map doesn't drive the car.
And how does that navigator make those decisions? Based on one absolutely critical element: context. Information only transforms into wisdom when it's firmly tied to context. Imagine a doctor looking at a set of lab results. A slightly abnormal number might be, completely harmless for a healthy 20-year-old, but it could be a massive red flag for an elderly patient with a history of heart issues. The wise doctor doesn't just blindly read the data. They interpret that data through the context of that specific patient's life. Context tells you what kind of world you're operating in.
And this brilliantly illustrates the whole journey. We've got this crucial framework. We start way down at data, which just asks what is here and gives us raw observations. Then we move up to information, which asks, what does this tell me? Next, we hit understanding. Okay, how do these parts fit together? But that final, absolutely critical step at the top is wisdom. It asks the ultimate question, what should I actually do with this? That shift from just knowing what's there to knowing what to do, that is the entire game.
Now, here is a subtle but honestly incredibly important point. Wisdom is selective, it's not greedy. A lot of people mistakenly think that being wise means trying to cram every single detail into your head equally. But if you do that, you totally lose the ability to see what actually matters. Think of a master chess player. They don't look at the board as just, an inventory of 32 equal pieces. No way. They look at the board and immediately see pressure, vulnerability, tempo. Wisdom doesn't ask, what can I know? It asks, what deserves my attention right now?
Because wisdom focuses on what truly matters, it often looks, well, slower. And I want to just pause here for a second, because this is absolutely vital. Information triggers a fast response. But wisdom hits the pause button. It completely resists the urge to react immediately. Think of it like steering a massive cargo ship instead of a tiny sports car. A small correction on a huge ship has massive consequences down the line, so the timing and the direction matter way more than just spinning the wheel as fast as you can. That pause, it isn't hesitation, it is pure discipline.
So, let's move to this and see how this builds into something you can actually use today. Here is a super actionable framework for your thought process. When you face a new problem, don't just stop at, what do I know? Push further. Ask yourself, what does this mean in this specific context? Then, what matters most? And finally, that crucial wisdom step. Given all this, what should I actually do right now? This is exactly how you actively interrogate information, rather than just sitting back and being passively impressed by it.
So, how do you spot real judgment versus, say, cleverly disguised overconfidence? Just run it through these 3 tests. First, does it see limits? A wise person readily admits what they don't know. Second, does it see trade-offs? They understand that every single choice means giving something else up. And third, does it see consequences 2 or 3 steps down the line? If someone sounds absolutely certain but completely ignores the risks, you're looking at overconfidence, not wisdom.
Well, we've climbed the whole ladder today, from those raw, chaotic puzzle pieces of data to the structured lens of information, all the way up to the careful, measured judgment of wisdom. You now have the wholesome understanding required to actually separate the signal from the endless clutter. So I'm going to leave you with a provocative thought. Tomorrow, when you are handed a massive pile of facts, and you will be, what are you going to do? Will you stop at just being informed, or will you take that next step and choose to be wise?